talk about how you can use a time cost matrix to help you figure out which idea you want to pursue. So just a reminder, we are in the last day of week 2 of the 30-day founder blueprint. Week 1 was all about ideation. Week 2 is all about validating the idea, and this is the last day of week 2. And today we're going to talk about how you can use a matrix that shows time and cost to help you figure out, of all the things you've been thinking about. In week 1, you had all these ideas, all these things that you wanted to pursue. Week 2, you went and validated one or multiple of them, and hopefully one of them hit and showed it has a lot of potential. But maybe a couple hit, and you're just not sure which one to pick from. How do you know which one's the wrong idea? One thing you have to be careful about is there's 2 different types of archetypes of founders that I see that choose the wrong business to pursue. The first is just the passion chaser. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's very important for you to do work that you feel connected to, but you don't have to necessarily feel passionate about the work you do. But a lot of people are out there just promoting chase your passion, chase your passion, chase your passion. Well, if your passion can't turn into a business, then you have a hobby, not a business. And so you have to be careful that you're not the passion chaser. On the other side of the coin, let's say, is the idea of the gold rusher. It's the person who just jumps on any trend. AI would be the best example. Drop shipping is another example. And they sort of just chase after money with the business simply because they think they can make a lot of money. The problem with that is if you're doing this business 14, 16 hours a day, which a lot of times you are as a founder early on, you're going to hate this business, and you may not make a whole lot of money in the first place. And sure, you could stick it out and maybe it turns around and makes you a lot of money, but both paths are kind of risky, the passion chaser, the gold rusher. So what we're going to do is we're going to plot our ideas in this time cost matrix in this last step of week 2, and we're going to use it to figure out if there's a couple that are kind of close, which one you should really chase after. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a matrix, right? 4 quadrants, and you're going to put on the horizontal axis, you're going to put time. So this isn't just hours, right? This is length of time it's going to take from day 1 to get your business up and running and get your first customer. It can include things like the ideation we've talked about, validating the idea, building an audience, all these things that you're going to go through in the entire 30 days. On that horizontal axis, you've got low time businesses, and those can be launched and monetized very, very quickly. So a lot of times, one of the easiest ways to do this with a new business is a service-based business. We talked about that. Graphic designing, freelance writing, dog walking, all these different things, right? And the time to first dollar is very, very short, typically. Then you're going to have high time businesses on that x-axis, and on that time axis, and they require a lot of time, a lot of investment, a lot of energy. It takes a lot of development. An example I can think of is when I ran a biotech incubator here in my hometown. Those businesses took, I kid you not, sometimes decades just to get up and running because of all the research that had to go into it. And those are high time businesses. So be honest with yourself on this time axis, map where your idea or multiple ideas you're considering fall, and don't forget to include the invisible time that's spent maybe learning if it's not a business that you know. Now, on the other axis, we're going to have cost. That's the vertical axis, and this is the cost to get up and running, and it's more than just cash. It could be opportunity cost. So if you pursue one idea over the other, there's opportunity cost in that, right? Maybe even if you quit your job, a lost salary for quitting your job could be part of this cost. So don't forget, it's not just the cost to launch the business, it's also the cost to sustain it. It's also opportunity costs, all these different things. You could have a low cost business on this vertical axis. So it could be things like consulting, we talked about freelancing, blogging, things like that. You'll have high cost businesses. Let's say you're going to open a restaurant. You got to rent real estate. You got to buy equipment. You got to hire staff. You got to do all these different things. That's not inexpensive. And so I would consider that a high cost business to get open. By the way, my family owned one, so I know exactly what goes into this. We actually owned about 12. We had some ownership in a chain worth 12 different restaurants. So I've been in that business. I know how capital intensive it can be. So what you're going to do, maybe just as simple as grab a piece of paper, draw your x-axis, draw your horizontal axis, draw your y-axis, your vertical axis, and the horizontal is going to say time, a low time on the left, high time on the right. Then you're going to do your vertical axis, low at the bottom, high at the top, and we're going to plot a couple of things along the way. Examples I've shown in the image would be like dog walking. It's low time, low cost, goes in the bottom left. Drop shipping, medium time, low cost. It goes in the bottom left, sort of, but further to the right, right? AI SaaS, high time, high cost. Not necessarily anymore with vibe coding, but you get my idea. So go ahead and pause the video and just map that out for you real quick, and then we're going to take a look at it and talk further. Okay, hopefully you pause the video. So the bottom left quadrant, low time, low cost, these are quick wins, right? These are starter ideas that you can get rolling with really fast. The bottom right quadrant is high time but low cost. So these are slow burns. A lot of times these are passion projects that kind of take time getting rolling. Then the top left quadrant is low time and high cost. So these are really big bets, things that are going to cost you lots of money, but they don't take as much time to get going. Maybe buying a franchise or flipping real estate, that type of thing. And then the last quadrant in the top right is going to be high time, high cost. And these are legacy projects, right? It doesn't mean you can't do them, but they're basically moonshots. They take a long time to come to fruition. They take a lot of money. And so I want you to use this matrix before we exit week 2. If you're stuck on which idea to pursue still, as long as you've done some of the validation exercises, you can't just skip to this one and do this and decide. You need to have done some of the validation exercises like landing pages and running $100 worth of ads to see what goes on. But once you've done those things, if you've got 1 or 2 ideas you're still having a hard time choosing between, we're going to use this time cost matrix. We're going to use that to help you decide which one to pursue. Now, once you've done all of this, we are getting ready to go into week 3, which is usually one of the most popular things that I talk about, which is fundraising. We're going to talk all about how you can use debt and or equity, loans or investors to actually fundraise for your business. By the way, not every business needs capital, but for those that do, understanding the differences and how you go about getting them is really, really important. So we're going to spend all of week 3 doing that. Then once we get through fundraising, we'll go into our last week and we'll talk about how to take your business to market. Thanks for sticking with me so far. I hope you've enjoyed it. On to the next day.